there's a correction that I would like to make. He said move to Georgia. I want to give you 5 words of how I actually came to Georgia. Trick, bamboozle, hoodwink, unplanned, and coerce. My dad said, hey, we're gonna move down south for the summer. That was in 1988. It's 2023. I have the accents. But you know, everything happens for a reason. And with that being said, you guys are in this seat for a reason. I don't believe in luck. I stopped believing in luck back in the 80s. You know, everything happens for a reason. And hopefully, there's something that I can say today that will spark something in you to know that there is a purpose for you being here. When I got down here in '88, Scriven County, Georgia, small town. People were still riding lawnmowers to the store. It was a culture shock. Remember, I came from a big city, and I came to this small town. I remember seeing a deer cross the road, and I said, okay, where's the local zoo? Like, how did the deer get out? Because in Detroit, we know that animals are in a zoo. There's no way in the world that a deer is just running around. So it was a culture shock to me, knowing that animals can just roam around. I seen rabbits, I seen my cousins playing with no shoes on. Like, just all of this is a culture shock to me. But eventually I wound up adjusting, and I came a country boy. So went to high school, and I was still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. You know, so I was playing basketball, I was pretty good at it. I actually still to this day, I have in a laminated paper, a letter of intent from the University of Georgia. I still have it to this day, in 1995. And a letter of intent is pretty much a conditional contract. Said, hey, look, if you get your grades up or you score high enough on the SAT, you can come play ball for the University of Georgia. That's all I wanted to do, was play ball for the University of Georgia. I didn't have no career goals. I didn't know what I was gonna major in. If I could just play ball for the University of Georgia, Jim Harris was the coach there. If I could just play for him. So when it came time to take the SAT, now, let me just put this out there. I wasn't dumb in school. It's just I thought I was too cool, so I didn't apply myself. So when the SAT came, I remember taking it at Georgia Southern. So my friends finished taking it. And there's the thing, you know, abracadabra, A, B, C, D. I kind of spelled that out through the whole SAT. Because I really just was trying to get out there and play with my friends. I didn't put no effort in passing the SAT. And back then, they gave you 200 points for putting your name and spelling that right. I think that's all I got was those 200 points when it came to take the SAT. So I dropped the ball. So Georgia said, okay, look, if you go to Middle Georgia College, which back then it was a 2-year school, get your grades up, you can transfer and come on over and play ball. I said, all right, I know I can do this. I got to Middle Georgia College, and anything that you could possibly think of, I got caught up in. Whether it was women, whether it was not going to school, it's just basketball just went down the drain. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, what am I doing with my life? What am I going to do with my life? Then this one friend came along and said, hey, let's join the military. Now my dad was in the Army. He was in Vietnam, and he never talked about it. He never mentioned it, and it took me to get into my 30s to realize why my dad never talked about the military. But as I learned and done a lot of research, I realized why. Because going through Vietnam, those guys, they seen a lot and did a lot. So he probably didn't want me to go that route. So my friend said, hey, let's join the military. I said, okay, what branch? He said, let's join the Navy. I said, okay, so what are we gonna do? He said, let's be Navy SEALs. I said, okay, what do they do? Let me tell you something, Scriven County, Georgia, the only people that came into schools to talk about careers was the bus drivers, the school lunch cafeteria employees, and maybe, that's about it. Like the police didn't come in our schools and talk about careers, the fire department didn't come in, the military was like, if y'all find out about us, you do. It's here or there. So we didn't have these occupations coming to our schools, so I didn't know anything about the military. So he said, we're gonna be special operators. Okay, what does that mean? Like, explain this to me. He said, okay. I said, so what does a Navy SEAL do? He said, well, the Navy SEAL, when he mentioned, I said, what does the SEAL stand for? When he mentioned sea, like in the ocean, immediately I said, the way my swimming was set up back then, that's not gonna work for me. I can't even swim in 6 feet. You're talking about the sea, the ocean. So obviously that went out the door. Then somebody came along and said, hey, why don't you join the Army? I said, well, what am I gonna do in the Army? And then they said, well, you know, you could be, I forgot the MOS, I forgot all the terminology. But anyway, the military didn't work out for me. It was a reason. It just wasn't meant for me to go that path. And then somebody came along and said, hey, why don't you be a police officer? I said, a cop? I said, I've done too much wrong in my life to be a cop. That's not gonna work out. So I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. So I wound up going to North Georgia Tech for about 6 months. Actually not too far from here. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. You know, I said college may not be the thing for me, so let me figure something else out. I'm gonna have to have a job. I gotta get in the workforce. So idle mind, as you know, it allows things to slip in. When you just sitting there and don't have nothing to do and you don't do anything positively, there's a chance that something can slip in negative. So some friends came along and said, hey, 1996 in October, let's go to Savannah and let's just have some fun. I said, all right, sounds like a good idea, have some fun. I'm 19 years old, 20 years old, I think, trying to figure out life. On that night, that fun wound up taking 10 years of my life. We wound up doing a bunch of armed robberies in the city of Savannah. We got caught. There was 4 of us. 2 of us got caught, the other 2 got away. And I wound up receiving 15 years for possession of a firearm and burglary. Now, with that 15 years, it was mandatory that I was gonna do 10. And some of you are thinking and wondering, like, man, you know, how was he able to do these 10 years? Look at him now. Let me explain something to you. This program, you know what? Let me go back. I drove 5 hours to get here. No one's paying me for this. Matter of fact, I got a flat tire out there that I got to deal with. I mean, it's completely flat. I got to figure out how to do that. I got to figure out how to deal with that. I'm not checking. I'm too clean checking. So I drove here 5 hours for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 of you, because I believe in programs like this and how it works. So hopefully there's something that I can say that can inspire you to be where I'm at. Not per se the position, but successful in your life. So I did 10 years for possession of firearm and burglary. I did 120 months. I did 87,660 hours incarcerated. 10 years of my life I can't get back. From 1996 to 2006, I was gone. One of the things that I seen while I was incarcerated, and I'll go back, I seen a car and the blinker was on the mirror. I said, what is that? How is that happening? Like, how does that even, so I was so out of touch with society that was miraculous to me. I remember when I first got out and I was working at McDonald's. You know how you hit the button to your car and the horn? I thought people were blowing their horn at me. Every time I heard a horn, I would wave, but that was somebody locking their door. That's just letting you know how far behind I was. Within that 10 years, I became behind. So what got me in the position that I'm in now, there were people like these individuals that's in here, family members, correctional officers that said, hey, look, I'm gonna be honest, my first 3 or 4 years while I was incarcerated, I had no clue what I was doing. I was smoking Black and Milds, I was into the foolishness, fighting, I was playing a lot of basketball, but I wasn't structured. And one counselor came to me one day and said, hey, what are you doing with your life? He said, you know you have some time to do. I said, I don't know, I'm just in here, I'll just figure it out. He said, let me tell you something. He said, you probably need to come up with something to do. Find a trade. At the time they had multiple trades, I'm not sure how it is now, but back then they had a lot of trades that you could do. He said, hey, why don't you be a carpenter? I said, I don't want to be a carpenter. He said, what about an electrician? I said, man, I don't want to get electrocuted. He said, brick mason. I don't know how to make bricks. He said, okay, well, what about the inmate firefighter program? I said, firefighter. Okay, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. So I gave it a shot. And he found an institution that would take me with the time that I had left, and the rest is history. I became an inmate firefighter, and I was good at it. But as I was doing it, as if you're in these positions, never let nobody tell you what you can't do. Let me explain how that works. So if you look at a house, let's just say a 1-story house, there's the front door, then there's 2 windows. If you go to the front door and it's locked, and you're a firefighter, then you go to the next window to try to make entry. Because remember, you're trying to save somebody's life. If that window is locked, you go to the next window. That's how you have to look at opportunity. If somebody says no, I guarantee you there's somebody somewhere that says a yes. You think because I'm in this position right now that I just got a bunch of yeses? You just don't know how many no's I got in order to do it. I was persistent. I made sure, I said, somebody's gonna hire me. And I always told myself, if I can get in front of whoever's responsible for hiring, I'll get the job if they play it fair. And I never was ashamed of what I did. I just never talked about it. Because I'm gonna be honest, at the end of the day, there's still people that's gonna judge you for what you've done. That's just across the board. Society is set up like that, no matter how good you do. I did this crime in 1996. I'm 40-something years old. No, I'm not gonna tell my age, but I'm 40-something years old. And I'm still being judged. People still look at me differently, no matter how successful I am. I'm more educated than the average person that's gonna judge me, but they still judge me. I'm more financially sound than the person that's gonna judge me, but they still judge me. So you have to look at it within yourself. No matter what they say, you gotta be determined enough that you're gonna make it. I got a chance to meet David Goggins. Most of you in here know who David Goggins is. My friend Brett. Matter of fact, I forgot to tell you, my friend Brett did make it. He made it to SEAL Team 4. He blew his knee out on a halo jump. Jumped out of an airplane, messed it up doing training. He stays in Alpharetta, Georgia. And I got a chance to meet David Goggins. David Goggins is a former Navy SEAL who was a motivational speaker. And when I met him, you know, it was just an awe moment. But one of the things I learned from him is that you have to be persistent in whatever it is you want to do in life. If some of you are good at painting, by all means, somebody will hire you at a paint shop. Somebody, you know, Disney start their artists off at $80,000 a year, and you can have a background and still work for Disney. So anything that you're good at, somebody will give you a shot. I'm gonna be honest, jobs are just not miraculously gonna come to your front door and say, hey, look, we're hiring. You gotta want it. You gotta go get it. I remember working at McDonald's, and I seen the fire chief come through the drive-thru. He had ordered a Big Mac. And I kind of was laughing because, you know, I hadn't had a Big Mac. So I don't eat beef or pork. I hadn't had those meats since 1996. So I don't eat those meats anymore. But I seen him come through, and I didn't know he was a chief. I just seen white shirt. I said, white shirt gotta be important. So I gotta settle. I gotta get hired as a firefighter. So when I was incarcerated, I said, there's nothing gonna stop me from being a firefighter in society. Nothing. I am going to get hired. Somebody's gonna give me a shot. And that's how you guys have to feel. Whatever it is that you do and you're passionate about, you gotta know that somebody's gonna give you a shot. If you get 12 no's, all you need is that one yes. I swear, that's all you need. So when I seen that chief, I said, you know what? I gotta settle. I gotta talk to him. So I said, hey, excuse me, sir. My name is Alima Mims. I was wondering if I could talk to you for a second. And he said, go ahead. And so I explained to him about being in the inmate firefighter program. I said, hey, look, you guys can hire former people that's been incarcerated. Here's the law. I laid the law out and everything. And he was pretty impressed. He said, okay, let me talk to the fire chief, because he was the training chief. And we'll try to set something up. And he finally talked to the fire chief, and they called my previous chief of who I was incarcerated with. And we had all this big meeting. They had him on speakerphone. And he said, if you can make it through training, we'll hire you. I said, make it through training? Gotcha. I had the highest average, because when you're incarcerated, all you have time to do in your hand, if you choose to, is to read and study. I knew that book in and out. Physically, I worked out every day. I wasn't worried about that. I was the most top physically person in the class, so I was the top of my class. So they gave me an opportunity. They said, all you have to do is pass the class and we're hiring you. Is that it? Gotcha. So I got hired August 8th, 2007 as a firefighter, career firefighter for the Augusta Fire Department. I stayed there 14 years and moved up to the rank of lieutenant. And let me tell you something, there were still people there at the fire department that didn't like the position that I was in, but I earned that. Nobody gave me anything, and that's what you have to realize. No matter how much time you've done, nobody owes you anything. I didn't have any, and I'm not saying this as a pity, and it's not their fault, but I didn't have any family support the 10 years that I did. I did those 10 years by myself. Nobody sent me any money. I'm just being straight up. But I'm not mad at them. I did that crime. So I ate that. I did those 10 years by myself. Nobody sent me any letters. Nobody came to visit me. And I'm not mad at my family. It was meant for me to become the man that I am now. I believe if I'd have got girlfriends coming in and people sending me money, it'd have made me comfortable. And I wouldn't have that same drive. Not having support from family and being able to call home gave me that drive. Both my parents died while I was incarcerated. So I still had to drive. You know how hard it is to be able to get that phone call, you go to the counselor and they say, hey, look, your loved one's passed away, but you gotta go back and still finish your time. You gotta go back in the environment and still kind of be tough. Because back when I was doing time, you showed any sign of weakness, I don't know how it is now, it may still be the same, they prey on that. So I still had to go be that tough guy. I still had to go fight fires, and my parents just died. So I use that as drive and motivation to realize that it's just me. I gotta get it, and I gotta figure it out. You know, one lady asked me, what was it that gave me that click, that change? and sitting in the wall in the cell and just realizing you gotta do something with your life, man. Because if you get out after doing 10 years, you're gonna be 31, 30, and if you don't have no type of goal, dreams, aspiration, you may come back. I'm gonna be honest, they expect you to come back. They might not want me to tell you that, but percentage-wise, it is already deemed that they expect you guys to come back. You gotta beat the percentages in your eyes. You gotta leave here, and the only way you come back is when you come behind this podium and speak to others. Or you come back and you come to help and assist, not come back being in those seats again. Let me give you another example of persistence. So, when I was a firefighter, and I did it for 14 years, I said, there's something else that I want to do. What else could I do? Different person, same question. Somebody said, hey, why don't you be a cop? I said, I said, man, I feel like I can make some impact in the community. Let them tell me no. This is how I look at it. You gotta tell me no. I'm not gonna just look at some paperwork and it says, you can't do it. You gotta tell me no. So somebody said, well, why don't you apply? And I'm not gonna say just yet what they said apply. So my neighbor came down and talked to me in my garage for 2 hours. He gave me the whole ins and outs. Now my neighbor don't know my history, so he gave me the whole ins and outs. And I said, all right, I'm gonna do it. So I applied for GSP, Georgia State Trooper, class 110. Now, some of you are thinking like, man, you tried that? Why not? You gotta tell me no. So I applied, got the letter saying that, hey, look, this is the date that you go for your run, because you have to do the physical tests, push-ups, 1.5 mile run, and sit-ups. If you knew how hard I trained to get my 1.5 mile time down, I got up every morning at 5 o'clock to go run around that track to get my time down, because I knew that I gotta give my all, because I got things against me. So I gotta be the best when I go out there on that field. So I applied, and I went on the run, and I made the run. And they said, well, congratulations, you made it past the first portion. I said, man, I'm about to be a state trooper. Now, let me just tell you this. Had I became a state trooper, and this is how God works. God, everything happens for a reason. I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in God. There is a higher power. There's a reason why you're here, and God has guided you in this position. God said, you know what? I know you want to be a state trooper, but I'm not going to allow you to be that. And this is why. Had I became a state trooper, and I'd have got my hat and my car, I'd have drove back to the fire station, I'd have had my voice would have changed. I said, hey guys, how y'all doing? They said, man, Mims, you a state trooper? And then I'd have faked like I got a call, dispatch, I'm on the way. And I'd have got in my car and I'd have cut the lights on the left out, and then I'd have cut the lights out down the road. Because it all would have been just to show them that I could do it. And that's the only reason, I'm gonna be honest, I wanted to be a state trooper, because it was another challenge. Yes, I would have did my job and I would have helped others, but it was just a challenge to see if I could do it. So, and another thing is that my pet peeve is that when you get over in the lane without using your blinker, I can see you 2 miles down the road, I'm probably gonna pull you over. It irks me now. The things that irks me now as a driver would irk me as a state trooper. So I applied, and I got this letter back saying, we appreciate you applying to Georgia State Trooper, but due to your background, we cannot hire you at this time. And I said, you know what? That hurt. It hurt. There was another note. I got that letter, and I still got this letter to this day. And I got it, and I looked at it, and I said, man. I said, okay. But you gotta realize everything happens for a reason. You gotta be able to say, you know what, that wasn't meant for me. And it ate me up, it hurt bad. But let me tell you how God was. So I moved on, and this position came open in Virginia. Somebody said, you know, we feel like you're pretty good at teaching. Here's a training position, hey, here you go. Got the position. So class 110 was still going on, they was in the hiring process. My supervisor called me one day and said, hey, Ali, I need you to teach a class, because I teach to law enforcement. He said, it's at the academy. I said, all right, no big deal. It's in classroom B. So I show up to the academy and I'm looking around, I'm like, where's classroom B? It's way down here at the end of the hall. I'm like, where's it at? So I find it and I see people running out in and out the room with gray pants on and shirts. And I said, oh, that's a state trooper class. So I'm just going in. So when I walk in the classroom, I said, oh, I'm teaching the state troopers. and then I see the class flag, 110. I was teaching the class that I was trying to get in. The students were looking at me and said, wait a minute, what, you on the run? One guy was like, wait a minute, man, how are you? So I was teaching the class that I was supposed to be in. That's how God worked. God said, you know what, I'm not gonna allow you to be in this class and be a state trooper. I'm gonna make you teach the state troopers. I'm gonna have you over the state troopers, giving the information that they need in order to pass. And it's not an arrogant thing, it's just letting you know how God works and twists things around. And from that point on, I've taught many state trooper classes as it relates to hazmat. So that's how you have to look at things. You have to know that there are some no's, but there's some no's that lead to a yes. And you gotta realize that everything happens for a reason. You got to. And as I continue to go on, somebody always asks me what's next. Who knows? I'm always looking for an opportunity to better myself. If I can go around, if only one of you gets something out of this talk, I'm good with that. I really am. Somebody, whether it's a parent, a loved one, somebody can look at me and be like, man, I never thought that you could do 10 years in prison and be successful, if you want to call it success, whatever your term is in success. I never thought somebody could do 10 years and be able to come back and speak and give back. Once again, I'm 5 hours from home. And I got a flat tire. I'm still thinking about that flat tire, man. That's really doing something to me right now. But I gotta deal with that. But it's okay, because if somebody got something out of this, I've done my job. And I'm gonna continue to mentor and teach and go across the state and pass my story around. I'm gonna be honest, at one time I was ashamed to share my story because I used to think about what they gonna think about me. And then after dealing with and reading David and looking at some of his videos, I was like, who cares what they think about me? I still gotta do what I gotta do. I have a lovely daughter. She's 18 years old now. She wants to go to SCAD, School Art of Design, and I'm looking for Cash App and Zelle. Because when they told me that tuition was $30,000, not a year, a quarter. See, this is when it's good to have. I only have 4 friends. All right, let me explain it to you. I have 4 friends. And in order to be my friend, you got to fill out this 30-page application. And it's good to have friends that are somewhat financially sound. And I do want to say this, guys. When you go back to wherever you're going, if you're the smartest person in your circle of friends, you probably need to find some more friends. You need to be around people that's smarter than you, that's more even physically fit than you, so you can get more physically fit. People that's more financially sound than you, so you can get more financially sound, because if all of y'all are the same, everybody has a high school diploma, and I'm not down on that. That means, well, how do you grow? How do you feed off each other? How do you build? So when you go back to wherever you're going, to surround yourself by people that are like-minded, but also maybe a little more in a better position than you. You have to surround yourself around those individuals. So my 4 friends are all financially sound, so I'm going to give them a call, and we're gonna have a team meeting, and I may cry to try to help to pay for my daughter going to the school. But my daughter, and I do want to share this, is that she is very creative, and I have shared some things with her, and after when she got older, and she couldn't believe what I've been through, because to do that much time or any time away from family and society, and to be able to come back and give and be successful, the percentage is low. I'm gonna be honest, guys. It's not a high percentage. It's not 90. It's not 80. It might even be 5-10% of individuals that get out of these circumstances and actually do something with their life. So you got to be part of that percentage that do something with your life, guys. By all means, your family, your loved ones here, the people that's a part of this program, if they didn't believe in it, I'm gonna be honest, they really wouldn't be here. If I didn't believe in the programs that the state has to offer in bettering you guys, I probably wouldn't have drove 5 hours. I said, hey, I got something going on, I wouldn't have came. I wouldn't. I'm just being honest. So everybody that's here, believe in these programs. Your loved ones, for whatever you did to get here, whatever your background, it is what it is. But do know that you do have a future, because only you believe in you. Now, your family will support you, but you gotta have it within yourself. You can't rely on them and expect for them to be there for you for every little thing. And like I said, I'm not mad at my family because they wasn't there for me for those 10 years. It's okay, but guess what? When it was time for me to get out after leaving the transitional center, they were there for me. They were there. I had a home to stay in. So they were there when it counted for me, for the most part. And there's no ill will feelings there. You know, I love my family. We support each other. We all go out and eat. So there's that bond there. So if you do have family members, you do have loved ones, your mothers are still alive, your fathers are still alive. Like if that connection was broke because of your lifestyle, like use this opportunity to bridge that gap back with your loved ones, you know, because they're happy to see you. That's the reason they're here. They're not here. No one's paying them to be here. I guarantee you they're not. They're here for a reason. No one's paying me to be here. You know, it's all because we believe in these programs and we want to support you 1,000%. I still got to mention that tired guy. But no, guys, I just want to make sure that hopefully you've gotten something out of this. Continue to progress in life. You know, always look for something to better yourself. I'm always looking, how can I better myself? How can I be a better speaker? How can I be a better father? You know, because I definitely feel like I've screwed that up, you know, a couple times with my daughter. You know, I remember many moons ago when I was young in the 80s, I told my dad to shut up. Now, let me just say, the only reason I'm here, because some of y'all looking at me like, yeah, the only reason I am still alive because my dad knew CPR. So what happened is he killed me. Yes, I did die. He did. But he said, you know what, as I was sitting there, because the brain has about 3 or 5 minutes, you know, before it goes dead. He was sitting there and thinking, it's like, man, is he gonna be something? You know, he was looking at his watch probably. He said, yeah, I think I might go ahead and bring him back. Yeah, it's about that time. So yes, he brought me back. And I never said that ever again my whole life. And I always thought about that. I said, man, you know, he mentioned being a CPR instructor. I said, if my daughter ever tells me to shut up, I'm probably gonna do the same, you know, but I'm gonna bring her back because I am a CPR instructor. But she hadn't, she never told me to shut up. But life is great, guys, you know, being able to laugh and have your loved ones here, it's awesome, you know. I'm enjoying it to the fullest. I don't want to hold you guys here too much longer, but I just want to make sure that you understand that whatever it is you want to do in life, by all means, give it a shot. Let them tell you no. Like, don't tell yourself no. Let them tell you no. They told me no, that you know you can't be a state trooper. As much as you want to be one, no, we're not going to do that. No, you want to be a police officer in Sandy Springs? No, we're not going to let you do that. So it's okay. So now I have to figure out how can I impact lives in another way. And guess what? I go across the state and teach at the law enforcement academies. So since I can't be a law enforcement officer, I can still impact you because I'm teaching you. And there's many people that reach back out to me. Actually, there's one guy who I just recently talked some years ago. He now works for Border Patrol because I gave him a reference. Guy called me and said, hey, he was asking questions. And I said, yeah, he's a pretty good kid. So I can impact their lives by teaching them and sliding in, you know, those little bit of jewels, you know, as I'm teaching them. So the same thing, you're gonna have young people that may look up to you, you may not even know they're looking up to you. Always try to be impactful in your life. I'll leave you with this. There's gonna be some people that's going to die and that has already died that has made no impact on earth. They are going to totally be forgotten. The only people that's gonna remember them is their loved ones. My challenge to you is that when you leave this earth, be impactful. Make sure you leave some type of stain. It don't have to be a long stain, like leave some type of stain on earth. Because you don't want to be that individual that passed away and nobody remembers you. Be impactful in your life. Know that yes, you may get 1,000 no's, but it only takes one yes. And at the end of the day, know that I was once there, and now I'm here. You're there, and you can be here. I commend you guys. Thank you.